I'm Kristen Massey. I'll be your host today. Hopefully, I won't just be reading from the slides and will be giving you more information aside from what you can clearly see on your screen. Today, I have my co-host with me, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Ashley Xia. I'm the other recruitment co-chair to Kristen, and I'm also the mental health coordinator. I will be moderating the chat today.
I'm Melody Lau. I'm the Publicity and Technology Chair. If you looked at our Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, that's my doing. So I will also be here as moral support and any other questions that you may have.
Great. Today is our November 5th information session. If you need more information, you can always come back November 19th. And if we feel it's necessary, we will also have one December 3rd. So this is the 75th Japan America Student Conference. This year, our dates are going to be from July 30th to August 26th, so almost a month long. So July 30th through August 1st will be American Orientation. This is where we teach you a little bit more about Japan, things you can expect from the culture, and help you guys bond a little bit more before we send you to Japan. And the main conference will happen in Japan, August 2nd through August 26th. Every year, JASC has a sort of theme that we like delegates to come back to with every discussion and every activity we do. So this year, our theme is Foundations, laying groundworks for bilateral reflection and reimagination. But you'll just hear us mention foundations every now and then. We don't really go after the full title.
So, sorry to interrupt. I think that it's hard to see the bottom of your screen. There's like a box covering it.
That box would be the transcript.
Okay. You could probably move it to the top.
Over here?
Or like stretch it out so that it's not a box like that, but more
I'm gonna put it to
what
side.
are words? Ashley, help.
Yeah, stretch it out so it's thinner. And make it lower just a little bit. If you can push it down. Sorry, technical difficulties, everyone. It happens. It happens.
This is the only place the box wants to go.
Maybe put it on top right of the screen. Is that possible?
Yeah, you can put it like.
You can put it over here. It will not go any further out.
Okay, well, we can also just turn off the transcript if people don't need it. But I think move it to top left.
That is top left.
Okay. Oh, good enough.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Our itinerary today will be, or agenda today will be, I'll tell you all about us, our team, the application process, past programs, and finally, we'll give you this coupon code. This photo right here is us from the 74th JASC, and it is our Amadelis and our Japadelis from last year. So JASC is about 3 to 4 weeks. We have 72 Japanese and American college students who come together in the USA and Japan on alternating years. So last year, JASC was in the United States. This year, it will be in Japan. And next year, if you decide to rejoin JASC, it will be in the US again. The whole purpose of JASC being started was by university students who were worried about the relationship between the two countries before World War II, during World War II, and after World War II. So our mission is to foster peace through people-to-people diplomacy and empower the next generation of US-Asia leaders. We have a lot of people in JASC with different backgrounds because a lot of those people go on to work in foreign service or the government or into top companies. and they can actually make real change by thinking about things that they've done during JASC. So our values are these 4 things: friendship, leadership, diversity, and growth. Because we are a student-led, student-run student conference, we have a lot of focus on leadership. As you can see, Melody, Ashley, and I are all college students. So we're the ones who help put together this program, even when it's not in our home country. The diversity we have is the background of everyone. We have a lot of growth. I have personally been challenged in my thoughts about where Japan stands on a lot of issues. I've grown from those, and I've made tons of friendships as a result that even when I came to Japan, I was able to rely on. So breaking down JASC to show you a little bit more, we have 7 roundtables, RTs for short. We go to 3 cities, and we have 72 total delegates. So our executive committee on both sides will always equal 8 of the delegates that go, which is why the remaining 26 to 28 spots are always going to be regular college students. So these are our sites this year. We're going to go to the big 3 of Kyoto, Nagasaki, and Tokyo. Since transportation is a lot easier in Japan, it's very cheap and simple to move around the country. To put it in an easier scaled picture, the entirety of Japan is 2 times smaller than the state of Texas in the United States. So you can imagine how much easier it is to move around, which is why we chose these sites, because while you may be living in Kyoto, we can take a day trip quite literally anywhere and still be back before night falls. So our 7 RTs this year are sustainable business, culture and arts, Melody is in charge of that one, environment and technology, international politics, law and morality, that'd be mine, linguistics and philosophy, which is Ashley's, and social class and diversity. We try to have spread out topics, ones that wouldn't necessarily have overlapping discussion. However, every now and then we do collaborate with other roundtables before the conference, during the conference, and sometimes after. And it's really interesting to talk to each different roundtable and see what kind of things you can come together and discuss. So our parent program is actually ISC. They're the ones who made all of this possible. They're a nonprofit in Washington, D.C., and they've created our program, CASC, which is between Korea and America, JASC, which is between China and America, and they also have created the US, Japan, Korea Trilateral Forum, but that is exclusively for executive committee members. So if after this year you become a delegate, you do have the option of becoming an executive committee member, and you will be invited to the Trilateral Forum. Our team. This is your executive committee for this year. Ashley is missing from the photo. I was vetoed on having a phone with her photo on it. So our uniqueness is that we are peer elected, we are student run. Everything that you will see, everything that you will do during JASC, we have personally decided on. Sometimes it makes for a really interesting day, and sometimes it makes for a fun time. So here are the 7 of us, or 8 of us. First up, we have our chair, that is Shun Sakai. Our vice chair is Charles Campbell. For slang, we like to call them the CVC. If you ever hear us say CVC, we're just referring to Shun and or Charles. Ashley and I are recruitment, and I'm physical health and she is mental health respectively. Helen Cecile, HC for short, is our finance and logistics with Adam Riley. Levi Cannon is our JASC liaison. He and Shun are both fluent in Japanese, and the other half of our team is also a conversationalist in Japanese. So during the conference, if you need help, most of us are able to help. And Melody is, of course, our publicity and tech and our secretary. So what things can you get out of JASC? Well, first off, you can develop professionally. We have tons of public speaking. We ask you guys to work collaboratively with different RTs. We ask you to be in small discussion groups almost constantly so that you can talk to your Japanese counterparts almost daily. You can learn and grow. We do live, travel, and research together. Research isn't a huge part of JASC. We have 2 projects that we ask delegates to do. So about halfway through the program, we ask y'all to get started about thinking on your final project. And then at the very end, your round table will come together and you'll pick one topic to present to the rest of the delegation to tell us more about why this is an important topic. And last but not least, you can make friends. When they say JASC is forever, they really do mean it. These are people not only from Japan and the US, but we also get delegates from Europe, South America, other parts of Asia. And at the end of the day, it's great when you go visit and you can chat them up and say, hey, remember me? These are some places that JASCers have gone on to work. You might notice a couple, such as UNICEF, JET program, NHK. These are very popular programs. And to what you've all been waiting for, application process. So the application each year is $3,500. This fee does cover your flights, your ground transportation, your accommodation, your food, and all the programs we will send you to. The only things you are personally responsible for are the application fee, any extra food you want, gifts and souvenirs for yourself, and then any sort of transportation to the site of American orientation, which will be in Los Angeles this year, and then back home from Los Angeles once the program is over. So each year we do get partial and full scholarships from the American delegation. Some schools have specific scholarships for conferences. Some have them specifically for JASC. If you need to contact ISC or our treasurers, Adam or HC, feel free to get further advice and details on fundraising. If you want to contact me, I can also put you in with them and they can help you out. This year, we will have one scholarship for a full ride for one delegate. This information will not be available until January when the final delegation is selected, but we do tell that everyone well in advance and choose them well in advance so that no one is waiting around 2 months before the conference and suddenly doesn't get this scholarship and is struggling to pay. The payment for JASC is also on a program basis, so you do not have to pay the full $3,500 at one time. You can do it in 4 payments. You can do it in 5. As long as it is paid before the program starts, you're perfectly okay. All you have to do is get in contact with me or ISC and tell them you would like to set up a separate payment schedule. So who can apply? Well, if you're a college student, any kind of college student, and you can speak English well enough to converse with others, you can apply. There's no major requirement. You don't need to know Japanese. In JASC, we do give you a JASC buddy. This will be your Japanese counterpart, essentially. You might have 1, you might have 2. They will help you with translations or anything like that, usually when they come to the US, we also help them with English translations. The only thing you really need is a passport or a real ID at the time of the conference. If you are a foreign student, such as someone from Europe, South America, other parts of Asia, we do ask that you have a valid visa and one that lets you leave the US and return back. If you're unsure about your visa status, email us. That is something we can easily check and easily put you in contact with ISC to help change your status or apply for another one. Fun fact, Kazu was a JASC74 Japadeli. He was in my roundtable. He was a medical student. He goes to medical school here in Japan. So we really mean it when we say there are no major requirements. Anyone can be accepted. You can also apply if you're about to graduate. We typically ask that if you're about to graduate, that the conference be something that happens at least half a year later. If you're going to graduate and the conference is about a year later, of course, we still look into that and we make decisions on a case-by-case basis. Graduate students and PhD candidates are also eligible to apply. You are considered a student, so of course you're eligible. And anyone who's a former applicant or delegate, whether you return down or not, is eligible as long as you're a student. Again, questions, email me, email ISC. This explains a little bit more about if you're not an American citizen or if you're part of an exchange program. If you are a Japanese citizen originally, we ask that you go through IEC, which is our Japanese focused program. So that's their sponsored program, and ISC is the American sponsored program. If you're not an American citizen and you're not a Japanese citizen, we just ask that you have a valid visa. Again, contact us if you need help with that. If you are a exchange student, we ask that your program be 1 year longer. That is simply because it makes it easier to get you through customs and immigration. If you are not a full-time year-long program exchange student and you still want to apply to JASC, again, email us the circumstances. We will look into it and give you a decision. You do not have to prove your English skill. We do take your word at it. If you say that you can speak English, if you say that you can converse with others, we will take you at your word. If you want to show us your TOEFL scores or your IELTS, we also accept those. We do not discriminate against anyone. No race, ethnicity, age, religion, nothing. We've had delegates who are 40 years old. We've had delegates who are 18 years old. We've had delegates who, even though we're the American delegation, they've come from places like the UK, South Korea, Ireland. Everyone who reviews your application is pretty much Melody, Ashley, and I. We do show the other ECs, executive committee members, so that we're not biased at all when we review your stuff. If you feel that you have been discriminated against at any moment in the application process, whether it's asking for an accommodation or your application was turned down and you think that there was not a good reason, you can contact ISC directly. In that instance, I wouldn't recommend contacting me directly, simply because I would have been part of that process. So it would be a bit of a conflict of interest to help pass it on. All right. How is COVID going to affect us? Right now, if you've been reviewing the Japanese situation, you know that they're open for tourism. However, they have been closed the past 3 years since COVID started. Obviously, Ashley and I are in Japan right now. We're students from the US. Americans can pretty much easily get through immigration, even if they decide to close for tourism again. because this conference is for students, we will be traveling under a student name. And if not, we will be traveling under a conference name, which again will still let us into Japan. So right now we are extremely and highly confident that this conference is going to be happening in Japan. The odds of it being shut down are very extremely low. Currently, we do ask that every delegate, once you are accepted, we won't ask for it beforehand. We ask that you submit up-to-date vaccinations. It says 3 doses. If you took the J&J, the first dose counts as 2. So if you took J&J and then got a booster, that's 3 doses. But if you took Moderna and Pfizer and got your 2 and then a booster, that's your 3 doses. If you are allergic, which we have had people with allergies join the delegation, or it's against your religion or anything, we just ask that you show some medical exemption. Unfortunately, because we are traveling to a different country and we will be staying in close quarters with each other a lot, Japan is still very much a mask society, and if you come over here, you will be asked to have a mask on constantly. You will be asked to hand sanitize just to enter some stores. This is not our regulation as much as it is specifically Japan's. The reason we ask for the vaccinations are mainly because as we are going to this other country, if you catch COVID, we cannot send you back to the US or your home country. You will have to stay the entire time in isolation, and the process of doing that in Japan is a little difficult. So how are your applications processed? We do it on a rolling basis. As you complete your application, we review them automatically, and you're notified within 2 weeks of sending your application on whether you are selected for short interviews. Our interviews this year are going to be held closer to December, so about mid-November, you should be getting emails about interview times and what your availability is for you to sign up for. Since there are 3 of us, we are able to cover you from any time range in the US, and of course, since Ashley and I are in Japan, we are up technically during your entire night too. After interviews, you will be notified within 2 weeks. All applications will be processed by Christmas, and the final delegation announcements will be coming out New Year's or a little bit later. There will be, there's no way they'll come out later than after the first week of January. We have been very strict on that deadline with our compatriots. Since there are limited number of spots, we do recommend completing your application early. However, a person who completes their application today and a person who completes their application on December 24th at 11:50 p.m. both have the same amount of chance of getting in. We just give a little bit more consideration on if you did it early, then if we're running out of spots, we might give it to the person who gave it earlier. Our application fee is $20. You'll get a coupon code at the end of this session for free application. You'll fill out a general form. This is general information. If you don't feel comfortable at any time sharing information, simply email us. We can either remove the requirement or ask for it at a later time. It is not a problem for most of these things. If you make an error on your general information, again, email. We have 3 short essays. There's a maximum word limit, but no minimum. What I mean by this is some of our questions, you have a maximum of 250 words, and some questions you have a maximum of 750 words. We do this so no one sends in 6-page essays. Yes, this is a real thing someone has done. Now we have a word limit. We do ask that just because there is no minimum, don't just send us 3 words. It's funny, but a 6-word story is not necessarily going to tell us the entirety of your life. Transcript, unofficial or unofficial is great. Unofficial would be best because you yourself can just upload it. An official one would have to come directly to our email. That is a heavy burden to bear to open. Your resume, or if you're European, your CV. Verification of enrollment. This is just something that tells us your attendance. We ask all delegates to be full-time students. If you're a half-time student, a quarter, 3/4, we just ask you to tell us why. We do understand some people have more than one thing going on. School is not everyone's main priority. You might have work, you might have family, you might have extenuating circumstances. You don't have to explain them in detail, but we do ask just so we know that you're not going to school half-time and there is not necessarily another reason why. We do have an optional section. You can upload recommendation documents, any other materials you want for us to look at if you think that will help your application. These aren't necessary. It's just a little something extra for you to give us, but not everyone needs to have it. So what are some things you've done in the past? Here are 4 delegate reflections. A lot of them are about socialization, meeting different people, being able to connect. This is Olivia in the top left corner. She is also in Japan studying right now. She got to connect with others and learn more about herself. Top right, we have Trey. She was really interested in all the people she got to meet, not only in Japan, but around the United States that she could network with. Lower left, we have Liz. She was great with deepening her understanding and changing some of the preconceived notions she had about people in Japan. And I'm actually this last picture on our bottom right. And I liked the camaraderie we built and how as soon as I came to Japan, many former JASCers from the 74th delegation reached out and wanted to hang out. And this winter, actually, a lot of us in the 74th delegation will be hanging out and meeting up in Japan for a Christmas dinner. This is me making meatloaf because no one in Japan has ever eaten Southern meatloaf, and that was inexcusable. Here's some pictures. We went for a barbecue, starting on the top right. We went for a barbecue and we found a stick and we found a baseball. So obviously we had to play Yaku, baseball. Below that, we have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs hosting the 69th reception. Since JASC is happening in Japan this year, the 74th will also be held by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You will attend a reception with them. In the bottom middle, we had a Six Flags simulation. We do sometimes run simulation sessions just to help people understand certain topics or discussions we're trying to have. Lower left, we have a few delegates who are presenting topics for the rest of the delegation. Top left, we have speakers. We do have speakers from both countries try to teach us more about different things. On the top, we have an Urasenke tea ceremony we attended. We sat in Seiza for 20 minutes. When they say sit to your comfort level, sit to your comfort level. There's a difference between respect and being able to stand back up. And then finally in the middle, we have me being a gremlin because I decided to wrap myself in a blanket because it was cold. So if you have any questions, you can email us. This is our social media on the top left. If you have Line, if you know what Line is, this is my Line ID. You can also text me there. We are not very formal. We are not too informal either. We hope to see you at JASC75.